Next person who's going to be presenting is Thomas Osterholt, who did a systematic review of current literature to increase grit and resiliency in those training in medicine. And Dr. Josie McGowan was his mentor.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Trey Osterholt, and I'm presenting on what Dr. Talley just said there. So let's get into it. Does the screen look good? Everything look good there? So COVID-19 has clearly affected every single one of us in this room, every single one in the world, realistically. And I think that's just important to kind of start as a baseline with. I think it's also important to note that in the medical field, about 20 to 50% of people experience some sort of a burnout or a burnout episode throughout their careers. I know a lot of our professors always bring that up with us at the end of lectures, and they're like, prepare for it, be ready for it. So that's important to keep track of. Resilience is the ability to overcome or revert to an original form after a stressor. And I think we get an email also every single week from our psych department saying, hey, like, here's how you can increase your resilience. And burnout is defined by the World Health Organization. It's a syndrome resulting from chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. So I think there's a lot of intertwining things going on with COVID-19 and, the burnout that we're going through. We heard a lot about this at the start of the pandemic. People are clapping for the healthcare workers and whatnot. So I wanted to learn a little bit more about what the effects were actually going on in these people, and especially those training in medicine. So the research question was, what is the literature that exists on this topic of medical trainees during the COVID-19 pandemic and the relationship to resilience, burnout, grit, anything along those lines? So it was an ongoing topic. We started this research at the start of the summer. That was about a year and a quarter into the pandemic. So not a ton of research had been published. But to do this, we utilized a scoping review. This means utilizing PubMed, Google Scholar, all the search techniques and whatnot out there. We had a list of very specific search terms we decided to use to help refine our search. And you can see those below there, including medical training, resilience, burnout, all those topics. So this is kind of the flow chart that we have right here to talk about how we went through the review process. So when you put in all the different words in the world into a search algorithm, it'll find you a lot of different results. And that was my job then, to sift through all of this and find what's pertinent, what's not pertinent. And after going through and make sure it met all of our criteria of, like, is it for someone training in medicine? Does it meet what we're actually talking about? We came down to about 40 articles. So general themes that we kind of found, or what we did is every single one of these that I read, you would go through and just put it into a table and talk about what population are they studying? Is it in the USA? Is it outside the USA? Everything along those lines. So I just kind of constructed a quick table, like, where's the studies actually coming from? The vast majority came from within the United States, the next most being from China. I think it's important to note that the majority of the studies came from generally more affluent countries that can invest a lot more into research. And that's definitely going to be a bias that you're going to find within this data set and to be aware of. And these more affluent countries may have potentially handled the COVID-19 pandemic better with more resources. So it's always good to keep an eye on that when you're going through this stuff. So generally the big takeaways that I had by going through this, and obviously we're still kind of working through things, writing through things, it's that rates appear to be higher during the COVID-19 pandemic for burnout as compared to prior to. There were not a ton of studies that had, hey, we got a residency class, we have all their prior data, and then, COVID happened to happen, but there were one or two out there like that. So I think it's important to note that resilience is a major protective factor for those who want to avoid burnout, pretty much is what they found. Many strategies were utilized to try to improve resiliency or decrease burnout throughout this time. This included things like team meetings via Zoom throughout this entire time. They could have a phone line that you could call for help. They called it battle buddies, where it's like you had one person assigned to you to be like your friend through the pandemic. And this really just showed us that no one knows like a great strategy to defeat burnout or improve resiliency. We just kind of throw a ton of things at the wall. Talking through issues is extremely important, is what they found through these phone lines and the weekly Zoom meetings. And studies also showed that those who felt like they were part of a team and like an integral member of the team and had a role, they had experienced a lot less burnout. Future directions of this project, we're just going to keep looking in the literature and trying to push forward with it. This is a short presentation, so thank you to Dr. McGowan and Dr. Talley and everyone who helped make the KCU SSRF possible. And I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have. Dr. O'Connor?
Yeah, thank you, Trey. Mine's more of a comment at the moment. I just wanted to share with this group that I've recently come from two very different meetings. And the one theme of all the presentations across both those meetings was around resilience. One was an HLC, our regional accreditor, so all the other universities here in the Midwest, everything from, you know, academic medical centers to they accredit barbershop schools, right? So everybody there, 4,000 people, probably one big topic over and over again, resiliency, burnout. 3 days later, I went to a healthcare meeting of all a national healthcare meeting with basically all the large healthcare systems, hospitals, healthcare systems across the country. Besides health equity, which was in both of them, the number one probably topic was around resilience, right? So both from an educational standpoint and this is obviously impacting our healthcare workers, which you've heard over and over again. So it's a great area of research. We don't know much about this, and it is here to stay, right? And so, so I appreciate you looking into this. One other piece I just want to share. I heard a great, if you're interested at all, heard a great talk from the physician who is leading Google Health, right? And where do people get their information? Good, bad, indifferent, Dr. Google, right? All that information they're collecting. So from a bioinformatics standpoint or informatics, all that health information. But right, first thing you did when you want to look up resilience, you went to Google, right? And so what are the opportunities around there as well? And there's a lot building in there. So anyway, if you hadn't had a chance to look at Google Health as future clinicians, they're doing some really interesting work there, and people are utilizing it. Your future patients will come to you and say, I looked this up on Google. So tell me why we're going to do this. Anyway, I'm talking too much, but I just thanks Trey, and it's a great opportunity for area of continued research. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. O'Connor. Dr. Rogers, did you want to make a comment?
Yeah, well, Trey, I had a question for you. So I talk with a lot of students that are coming in as first year students. What are like two things, I know you've hinted on this in your course, in your talk, but what are two things I should tell them? How do they build their resilience? What should they expect as they're coming in and getting ready for first year med school?
Sure. So one of the big things that you kind of pick up on the literature is they say we're really bad at improving resilience right now, which is not the answer we want to hear. But so you have to select for it from the start when you're interviewing kids for med school realistically, and just kind of find those people at the start. But if you do want to improve people who get here, I think it's going to be just a lot of like the teamwork activities, like make sure they feel like they're a part of the community some way, somehow, whether that's, you know, a great study group, meeting with people all the time, things like that.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Thank you very much.